Ellen received an unexpected check in the mail that was enough for her to attend the conference. Another story that combines answered prayer with manifestation is told by Jill Baldarelli. She was in the hospital with state-of-the-art medical equipment, awaiting the start of a serious medical test. The doctors were telling her that they were considering several different sites on her body to conduct the test, and Jill started to get scared. She said to herself, "God, I need a sign that you're with me right now." Whereupon all the power went out, including the backup system. As they were plunged into darkness, Jill had a vision of Reverend BJ and all her UCCM friends praying for her, and she was immediately calmed. The power came back on within 30 seconds, and the test proceeded. Afterward, Jill heard the staff talking about the outage, saying how unexpected it was, given that they were in the newest building and the two other older buildings didn't experience the problem. Additionally, the results of the test were good, so Jill didn't need further serious intervention. The last answered prayer story I'll tell is shared by someone in our congregation who some years ago was in her church with her mother. Suddenly, her mother said, "Your brother is in trouble. Start praying for him right now." So they did. Later that day, her brother came over for dinner and told that that morning he hadn't gone to church because he had to repair something on the roof. He was on a ladder which started falling backwards, and he felt a hand on his back pushing the ladder forward to safety. This would have been at the same time that he was being prayed for by his mother and sister in church. There are some other stories that I have categorized as guidance. Jen Snay was guided to go to Weight Watchers. The loss of weight helped lead to the discovery of a tumor in her breast, which, as Jen has shared with us, has been successfully treated. Bill Stake was guided by a presence he felt in his office at his desk one day. This very vivid presence led him to look at a library of books he had inherited from his grandmother. He had not looked at these books since he received them in 1993, but now he began to examine them, feeling that he was personally being taught by his grandmother's notes in the margins. These were all the books mentioned in The Household of Faith, a biography of the Fillmores, founders of Unity, including Lessons in Truth by Emily Cady, who was an associate of the Fillmores. Bill feels that this journey of learning was inspired by a very real, a very peaceful presence in his apartment that day. Jane Richardson also has a story of a presence that inspired her to stop smoking. She surrendered her addiction to a higher power, and sometime after, while driving her car, was filled with a strange knowing that she would be helped if she threw away her cigarettes right now, which she did. She continued on to her destination, and when she walked in the door, announced to the people there that she had quit smoking. She knew that Spirit was speaking. From then on, the unrelenting urge to smoke was completely gone. Another higher power story was shared by someone who was also battling an addiction. One day, she was able to pick up the phone, as she calls it, the 2,000-pound phone, and started dialing. When she finally reached someone, the person told her to kneel by the side of her bed, pray, and not get up till she felt better. "What do I say in my prayer?" she asked, and was told to just say, "help." Doing as she was told, she knelt down and soon began to feel a warm, fuzzy feeling and eventually a sense of peace wash over her. Later, upon reflection, she felt it was her first awareness of spirit working in her life, and she was able to go on to a recovery program. And lastly, in the category of guidance, I'll share a story of my own. Some years ago, when my oldest daughter was in her 20s, she was planning to go to Belgium to teach at the international school. I was quite worried about her being so far away on another continent. At the same time, circumstances found me in a part of town I had never been in before and had no connection with. I started chatting to the only other adult there, another mother, and after a few minutes, I told her about my daughter's impending trip and my anxiety about it. This woman told me that she and her family had lived in Belgium, that her children had gone to the very school that Helen was going to teach in, and that Helen was going to be fine. I felt that I had been visited by a messenger of spirit. Lastly, I'd like to share some stories of healing. The mother of a member of our congregation had several bouts of various cancers, but she was very spiritually aware, and when she was scheduled for surgery for yet another type of cancer, she and her husband stayed up all night praying. She went in for the surgery, and the final x-ray and blood test just prior showed no evidence of a tumor, and the blood work was clear. Her doctors were at a loss to explain what happened. Joellen Stone has two healing stories. In the first, her aunt and godmother had surgery and ended up in a coma. Joellen and her mother went to visit the aunt and found her on a respirator. That night, Joellen visualized her aunt in the hospital room. She prayed that her aunt not suffer and asked God to hold her in the palm of his hand next to his heart. She ended her prayer with, "Good night, Aunt Joanne." Some months later, her aunt, who had recovered, called Joellen and said, "I want to tell you that when I was in the coma, I could tell who was around. One night, I saw you in my room, and you said, 'Good night, Aunt Joanne,' and I came out of the coma." The other story involves Joellen's son, who was 16 at the time. He got very sick, and the medical test revealed that his left ventricle was functioning at only 25%. He was diagnosed with myocarditis and pericarditis. His doctors gave him low odds and did not have much hope. Joellen knew of Silent Unity and Daily Word, and so she called the number while still in the ER and asked for prayer. She asked to be strong for her son and to have the strength and courage to accept whatever was going to happen. The Silent Unity person told Joellen that her son was whole and well and a divine child of God, and that his heart was working in divine order. When Joellen got home, she called her family and everyone else she knew to pray for Andy. 5 days later, Andy was healed with no adverse effects. The doctors could not explain the complete healing. So there you have it, a fraction of the many ways Spirit guides us each and every day, watching over every detail of our lives, great and small. I'd like to read a small passage from Daily Word for a different day. It was for November 7th, but it's pertinent. The affirmation is, "I am attuned to the wisdom of God." Spirit's guidance may come at any time, even when I am not seeking it. I stay receptive to divine communication through nudges and ideas. I may read and feel inspired or receive an invitation for an adventure. When guidance comes from Spirit, I hear something inside me say yes. In conclusion, the working of Spirit is always there, available to everyone. The universe is always in our favor, but sometimes, or even maybe most of the time, we are not tuned in. To develop greater awareness, we can set an intention, ask and receive, reflect on our dreams, journal, meditate, pray, and just simply wake up and notice. Thank you, God. Thank you to all the contributors, and thank you all for listening.